trying to grab mine just in case. If you're live already and we don't know it, we cannot connect to your server, which means we're probably live somewhere. We did figure out why.
3, 2, 1.
Oh.
But is it live for real or a blue screen?
No, it should be live for real.
It is live for real. Yay!
We did hopefully figure out a couple of the little hiccups that were going on. One of them may still go on, which is us coming on live before we know we're live. And that is a
prime way to see us picking our noses.
Yep, that too. That's a solution that we could do, but we're not willing to do because then it means an entire platform doesn't get to participate. So we're happy to go live early and not know it if we need to. But hey, welcome to Thursday, which means what?
Creative Unraveling.
Another edition of Creative Unraveling with your hosts.
Ligia, Spelt, Ligia.
I should say your host and your guinea pig, Jennifer, Spelt, JJ.
Yes. I love that. Yeah, it's been a little bit again.
It has been a couple weeks. Last week got a little bit crazy, like
with Memorial Day.
With Memorial Day, but we also went and helped our friend Dan Beck with his Grit League stuff at the elementary schools, and that just took longer than we anticipated. So
yeah, but here we are. And if you're new to Creative Unraveling, it's a place where we just get to play and get back to our childlike states. I had a client this morning and just sharing how surprised I always am when people are like, oh, I'll paint one day, or how intimidating that process can be. And I'm like, it's just paper. You can throw it away, but I'm trivializing that.
For those of you who feel like it's intimidating, I'm going to validate that for you.
I get that, but I guess it's I say that in a way to take away like the energy and the anticipation and like the judgment we have of it, because really it comes down to we're being judgy of ourselves.
Yeah, for sure.
We want it to look a certain way, and so this program is really an invitation to have conversation about some of those feels and get to a place where we can just connect to our inner child and just have a place to play and explore and just be. So,
well, and as we've gone through this process, I feel a little less angst, especially depending on what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I still I can see what we're doing today, because Leah's already created this for something else that she's doing. So we're kind of replicating that, and I can see it. I am having a small freak out, but I'm learning to be okay with the freak out and to just trust that what comes out. And, I heard something really cool yesterday, and I know this in other places in my life, but this platform, I guess, this area of my world, it's still just like if I'm speaking, I can go and just extemporaneous do the thing, or I can do a lot of things like that where I don't have to have a plan. But we were watching an episode of Blown Away.
Oh yeah,
is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So it's glass blowing, and there's this evidently very, very well-known glass blowing artist on there, and she was creating her project, and she's like, I don't even know what my hands are doing. I don't even know. I'm just letting the energy move through me. And it's so crazy because I know this.
Yeah.
I know this in lots of other places, but for this, it still causes me angst. And so this process has been super good for me, and I would invite you to just join us. And I actually would love to hear, let me get this off our screen. I would love to hear your feels. Stick them in the comments. Do the painting. Stick them in the comments. I would love to know I'm not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Or something that you'd like to try and want some guidance on. There's lots of videos and stuff out there. But I think it's unique to have someone in that process sharing
mm-hmm.
the feels of being a beginner. You're not as much as a beginner as you were when we started this. But there's some.
My artwork still looks. I might have graduated to first grade. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But here's what I love about how you do this. is you don't say it has to be this way. You're like, it's a blank slate. Like, do what feels good for you. Actually let the process move through you. And
Inspiration be its guide.
let inspiration be the guide. Like, I appreciate that. So
Yeah.
that is helpful for me.
Okay.
I'm like seeing the stuff on the desk. I'm like, I have to move this.
Okay, part of the reason I have a whole bunch of stuff on the desk. So today, this is a piece I'm doing for a children's book, but I thought it would be really fun because it was really fun to make. And
I just heard you have a freak out. We're gonna be okay. You and I, we're gonna be okay.
It'll be okay. And you know, it gives me you think that I can do this. Like, to me, these are
she just
accidents.
did it.
I know, but it's like every time I look at something like this, I'm like, how did I do that? And so every time I approach my paintings, it's like I get to be a beginner again. Because again, what you were talking about in the blow thing, it was like just energies moving through you, and you know, you're inspired in that moment. It doesn't mean it's going to hit. It's probably not even going to look like that again today.
I love it too that the one of the things they said was, don't get attached to your stuff. It's just stuff. Like, and she was talking about an experience. This is a different glass blower, an experience of being in college and blowing glass.
Oh, yeah.
And they made these projects, and the teacher's like, all right, grab your projects, let's go.
Your most favorite
project. And they went out the door and they had to break it.
Yeah.
Like, throw it on the ground.
Don't get attached.
So it's that piece of like, don't get attached. Just allow it. It's not you.
Yeah.
That's the piece I think that I'm still moving through, is that it's not me. It's something, it's a gift. It's an energy. It's a life force that's moving through me. And
yes. I love that.
I love that you help inspire that because of how you don't say it's this way, it's that way. It's just grab some paint, and just do the thing.
Well, and I think it takes pressure off the creator and the artist. And, you know, like, it's not really about you. It's an expression that's coming through you. That's something I loved about my client today. It was just like, he was talking about how everything needs to go through our heart. And that's how I relate to painting is for me, it's a channel to go through my heart. And maybe that's where it comes more naturally to you, is connecting and those things, that energy coming through your art, whether it's in speaking or in.
Yeah. Well, and I think in this space, I still am very much in my head. But it was kind of funny yesterday in Live and Unscripted, we talked about this. My desk is right there on the other side of the screen, and we extended the desk for Leah to work on, and she's over here working on these paintings for this children's book. And I look around my computer screen and I was watching her paint, which is really fun to do, to watch the energy move through her. And I'm watching her paintbrush and her fingers and how she holds it. In one hand, she's working the brush, and in the other hand, she's working a cheese stick. Totally unaware, really, that she's doing either. She's just like, here. It was really cool to watch. So I think that's where my next phase is in all of this, is just allowing what's already intuitively a part of us to actually take over the process versus what's in here trying to control it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, let's get started.
I feel like I've grown up a little bit.
Yeah, I think you have too. I just remember some of your little souls, past yous coming out in some of the pieces that we did, and you know, just the attitude or the emotion or just the feeling. Yeah, the tude.
For sure.
So if you wanted to join in today, you just need some paper, 140-pound press, cold press, watercolor paper, air on the side of not the cheapest stuff that you can find, because sometimes it has like a weird feeling, or wax.
Yeah, the water does. I mean, this is something I got to learn in the process, is start with what you have. Like, if that's what you have, use it. Be frustrated and be whatever. And then, you know, when you can, get the next level up, and just recognize that it does make a difference.
Yeah.
And to then just be appreciative of that.
well, even just the paints, we went through that process. Winsor Newtons are like the best kind. The student grade of that is Cotman. Or there's Paul Rubin. I love Paul Rubin's paints just because of the flow of them, but also because they're so vibrant. I find them on Amazon. But start with what you have. Again, we learned the hard way, not get, sometimes they're like chalk based watercolor paints, and they don't work the same. They're great for kids.
They don't flow well, which it was a good way to start. It was a good way to feel the frustration of all of that. And
yeah. But maybe we'll go on Michael's live sometime soon and do like a field trip.
Can we take snacks?
Yeah, and totally take snacks.
Okay.
So I'm gonna add us here. So I have stuff all over the desk today because I don't have something that has a bunch of circles on the sheet. So I just grabbed different types of circles, cups, candles. We used a candle
end. We used a body glide runner end, not a runner end. The glide for skin for runners.
Oh my gosh. So you just put kind of circles in random. I'm going to switch this to show. There we go. So here you can see we've just made some circles on the page, and we're just going to start by getting our page wet.
The whole thing or just around?
Just go around the circles because we're going to do the circles separately. Or do you want to start with circles?
Whichever.
It has to dry. No, we're going to do it this way. We're going to go around the circles just because it's fun. And just to keep them separate, like the planets from space. So just take some water, go around all your circles. I personally really love the mop brushes. So that's brushes that look like this. They're pretty versatile. Like you can get fine edges on them. I really do most of my painting with these brushes, and usually the medium one. And I'm like,
almost made a really smart comment about that medium one.
Yeah, what's that?
That it's missing.
Oh, I don't know why. Maybe the trolls in the night went painting and wanted to use your brush.
Oh.
If you get it on your thing, that's totally okay. You can go in after when it dries and add color to it or add texture to differentiate it from the sky from the planets. So you want this fairly wet.
Explain what fairly wet means.
So you still want to see the texture of your page, but you don't want a puddle necessarily. You don't want a puddle. It just makes a mess and takes forever to dry and can just frustrate the process. But if you can see a sheen on your page and not a huge puddle, you're on the right track. So, okay.
Sometimes I ask because sometimes I think I have it wet enough and it doesn't do anything. And then other times, like, of course, also it can be like how it's sitting. We have ours taped down.
Yeah.
Like your surface, we have a tablecloth. Like the surface can cause a bubble or even just the wetness, right?
Yeah.
So a puddle, I guess.
Don't be afraid to go like right to your edges.
Oh.
Just so you have your sky around your.
I did not go right to my edges, so I'll use that puddle of water.
Yeah. Like get as close as you can to the circles without going into the circles. We'll go back once it's dry and do the planets.
Because the water will stop at the edge of the
Yes.
wetness, or the paint will stop at the edge of the wetness,
Yeah,
correct?
it'll spread.
Which is so cool when it does.
Oh, it's like one of my favorite things. You might want a little bit more water on yours.
Really?
Well, you can try it.
Oh, no, I thought I had it pretty wet. Now I do.
So once we're use that one. I just because of the angle. So another way to tell your water level is like just go at different angles, looking at your painting, and you'll see where there's puddles. You'll see where it looks kind of dry or where you didn't get close enough to your circles. And it's just because of where I'm sitting. It's very obvious to me where it is.
Okay, how does that look?
That looks good. Just that one.
Meaning I didn't get close enough?
Yeah.
Like I can't. I should probably put on a pair of glasses.
Maybe. So you're going to take your lightest color. So in this case, I'm going to go with yellow, but I'm also going to leave a white spot. And this doesn't have to be anything specific. I'm just kind of dropping in some color. I'm not going to fill this space here. If the color wants to diffuse into it, that's great. If not, that's totally cool too. What I want is to keep a bit of like white space, or lighter yellow, so it gives it dimension. And then I want orange or like a burnt orangey color, and I'm just going to go on the edge of my yellow, maybe go a little bit closer and let it just kind of spread. I'm going around my planet. I have a bit of a puddle here, so it spreads differently around that one. You can go around a planet. You can just do a section there. I'm going to take the red. Normally, I find when you do watercolor, people will make like a puddle on their thing, but I like to just kind of go right into the paint.
Yeah, she does.
Because I get the really vibrant colors.
I'm always blown away by the colors you get versus the colors I get.
You've got a good orange.
Yeah. Where did you go with the red? Just in little different spots?
Yeah, just kind of like, I don't necessarily want it right around all the orange. I'm not trying to make like a fire. But this is also where, I'll do like a green, but not too close to the red, because, well, I didn't do green in that one, did I?
I have no idea how you did that one.
Okay. Well, sticking kind of more with that one. Okay, so this color here, this is like a magenta color. You can't really see that. The magenta color, I'm just kind of dropping in random spots.
This one? Like this?
Yeah. And then sometimes I won't even clear my brush, and I'll just go.
Oh, that's a lot of color. Wow.
Yeah. What you wanted, no?
Well, I don't know.
I'm doing the purples more close to the edges, away from the. I don't know if that's like an explosion, or I don't know. It's just like a fun spot for me. I don't even know what to call it. That looks cool. I like how it's spreading there.
Mm-hmm. I'm kind of intrigued by how it's spreading today. Like, that's kind of, I might be learning a few things.
Right?
Holy moly, you put that on, it's like,
right?
Like, where are you going? It says, watch me, I'll show you.
Right? So then I'm like thinking dark blues, almost like a navy blue, to start creating the darkness of the sky. And I'm going to focus that more on my edges. I can go into some of my colors, just to create kind of like a shape, like a cloud type shape, not necessarily a cloud. I think nebula comes to mind. Is it nebula?
Did you do this one or that one?
You did
I
that
don't
one.
like that one.
Yeah. Well, and this is like a bright blue.
Yeah.
Which you can like mix in to just lighten parts of that. You can always let it dry as well.
See here, it just wants a puddle.
You know, if you feel like you have too much color, like I feel I have too much color up here in the top, I'm okay with mixing this a little bit just so I get a different color to it. Just makes it more interesting. Purple, this purple here is like a really nice deep color to mix with your blue. So that way you have like kind of like you transition. I don't know. I just know I had a lot of fun doing this one because it wasn't super technical necessarily. It was just kind of like an opportunity to just watch the waters mix and the colors mix and just spread. And I just find it fascinating. Probably need to let it dry before I put more layers. But for now, that's kind of where it's at. How you feeling, Jen?
I'm okay. I'm trying to get the blue to go a little darker. I got a little puddle going on over here, but we're gonna let that be okay.
Well, if it's too much of a puddle, you can always go in with like a what's it called?
Paper towel.
Paper towel, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna wait till this dries.
I think I kind of need to do the same.
So what we'll do once this is drier, what I did was go around the planets in a dark color, in the dark blue, just to make the planets kind of pop. So if you notice here, it's dark around all the planets. So it just creates like a shadow effect. Yeah. Well, because when I had done them, they all just kind of looked flat, and then I'm like, well, this is the brightest, so it's going to create shadows on the other side of them because the sun's or that brightness is directly on them. So I'm like, I had a paper towel here, like a lot of fluid here. I mean, the benefit too is if you do pull up puddles, it'll give you some texturing, which is fun.
I'm just gonna pull them up with my paintbrush.
Yeah, that's another option too. So you can take, just another, you can take a dry paintbrush and that'll mop it up too. It's also a way that you can blend. And help in that drying process. You kind of see the shapes, right? Like there's no, again, there's no right or wrong to this. It's your art, and it's how it's being expressed through you, and it's a way to experiment and be curious and just see what happens.
Super amazing for someone who was kind of taught not to experiment.
Right. But I think that's the thing. Like we always are looking for answers outside of ourselves, but we have so much wisdom inside of ourselves.
I did to a degree. Like, well, I actually did a lot in various places, just not things like this. It's just funny because, it was always like, be safe. But I look at some of the things that I've done that lots of people wouldn't consider safe, although very safe. I don't know how to say what the thoughts are coming through my head that way.
So why do you think people wouldn't consider them safe? per se?
Because they don't know them. They don't know what's actually out there. They haven't done them.
Mm.
Or they themselves have been told that it's not safe, and so they've never done it themselves. So I don't, following rules. I was a really good rule follower.
Yeah. So is this like does an activity like this threaten emotional safety?
Yeah, I already feel emotion.
You mean, or you feel emotion?
I'm feeling emotion.
Oh,
Just talking about that. Just that it's the that inside myself, like it wasn't safe if it wasn't perfect. And so a lot of times I wouldn't do the thing if it couldn't be how I wanted to be the first or second, like it just was easier. It was more safe to not do it than to put myself out there in those ways. Like I can do a lot of stuff that's physically challenging that could feel unsafe to people. But sometimes when it's things like this feels more, I think, more a part of me, even though it's just, again, it's the learning that it's moving through me, but because it's coming through me. Or even like with music, like when I'm singing, sometimes it's challenging to put myself out there, and I don't love to practice in front of other people. And it's the making mistakes part, but totally knowing that that's part of the process in order to progress and be good.
okay. So let's take music. How have you moved through that? Because you used to perform, so that was a thing. Like how did you move past that? Practicing in front of people. You've done recordings.
I didn't
before.
practice in front of people. I had a studio.
Okay.
I had a studio like in my basement, and I could leave a microphone up and the speakers, and I could just go down and practice. I mean, my girls might have been home, but that was okay. Being here, I don't want to interrupt the neighbors, and so I just don't. It still really feels uneasy to make mistakes that way in front of people. Although it's been interesting process as we go through what we're doing right now and up in the studio and having you there. I kind of don't care. Like I've learned to laugh stuff off actually. Um, and I started figuring that out while I was performing, because I'm like, okay, I got to learn to just like laugh at myself and have fun and not be so concerned that I'm going to forget words or miss a note or whatever. And I was performing one time, I believe, and I don't remember where I was at, if I was at a fair or somewhere like that kind of atmosphere. And an entire line of words just whoop. And it's crazy what can run through your head while you're performing. Everything but the words run through your head. You notice people, you think, oh, I got to interact with that person, and you're doing the thing, but an entire line of words, they're just gone. And I like couldn't even make them up, and I just laughed. I'm like, and I started singing, I have no idea what the words are. So if you know them, help me out until they came back. And it was such an eye-opening experience to be like,
were you booed? Like, did they throw things at you?
No, they laughed with me and they clapped because I normalized it. I'm like, they're gone. Like,
I don't know where they went, I don't know. But they're not here now.
Yeah. So that was kind of it was a little unnerving at first, but then it's like, it is what it is. And, if I'm speaking and half the time I'll get up there and an audience will be laughing. I'm like, what? And I'm like, did I just make up a word? They're like, mm-hmm, you did.
You totally did.
So I'm like, what word did I make up? And and it's taking all of that and putting it here, I think is what, but it does bring emotion. Like,
yeah.
Like it's hard to give myself permission to just make mistakes here.
I'm like, what's the mistake?
There aren't any. That's the dumb thing. It's just the mind shiz talking. It's just an interesting process. Like, and so if you're feeling those things, like it's okay. And really put them in the comments. I would love to hear it. So I'm not alone.
Yeah. I just feel a need for more color.
I'm like, mine feels dull.
Yeah. Well, look at mine is too. So I'm just going back the places where I've added a certain color, I'll go in with my yellow as well. But I'm part of watercolor is layers, and um, that's what you lose some of that in just the saturation of paint. Fear of failure and fear of success. Love the orange. Yes, thank you, Jen.
Jen.
Oh
I
my
just love
goodness.
you. Thank you. Really, you know what? I actually appreciate that you say that, because my biggest thing, and I think lots of people is uh is actually more fear of success than failure. Because for me, then it's like, ooh, what expectations are now going to come from other people if I reach that next level, or what expectations am I going to put on myself? So
Yeah, because like you meet a goal or you meet,
it's
something you're striving for, and then you create a new one.
it's that oh my gosh, it's that Marianne Williamson quote. It's so funny because earlier today I thought, I wonder when Marianne Williamson's Return to Love stuff is going to come into play. Ta-da! Right there. Thank you, Jen Like, for bringing it up. Her quote that says, "Is we don't fear our smallness, we fear our greatness." I totally just slaughtered that, but that's the gist of it. Okay, I don't even know what to do here.
Well, you gonna go in with some of your yellow, because that's your lightest color.
Let's smack some more. I don't know. Do I want to put some more orange on here?
Well, you'll brighten it.
Oh, and now, woo! In pure puddle fashion.
Well, and it's a little more dry, so it's gonna take the color more, and it's not gonna dilute it and spread as much.
Okay. So tell me about that. Why wouldn't we just do that in the first place if it's going to go over top of it like that and take some of that ballooning effect out? Like what?
Um, well, we do it that way so we get the balloon and the natural diffusion that happens when you're doing this. Um, you could do it, but then it's more. I don't know. I don't trust myself to make these cool shapes. None of these shapes were what I had intended. These shapes were made because I let the water
Gotcha.
balloon and move the color. Um, and for me, I think it's like, so I don't have to be responsible for what that looks like. Like I don't need to own that. I can say, well, the water did what it wanted to, and maybe that's a safety for me, to just allow myself to let the process do what it wants to do instead of thinking I have control over it.
Okay, let's talk about that control thing.
Yeah.
Tell
Tell me about that.
I just am like, as I've gone through, this lived experience and all the different aspects of this lived experience, and thinking that I'm in control, or liking to think that I'm in control. And just as I learn more things, and I love it because as I coach more people as well, I just recognize like how much in control I am not.
Yeah.
And it's been, I hear people ask me what my programs are, and I've just learned to be like, you're my program, because I could have stuff, a program, set formulas and all that, but the reality is you're a unique individual. And what I've learned is what needs to come out is exactly what's going to come out, and I have no control over that. So it's like, know my tools, know my stuff, and what happens is, it it taps into the knowledge that I have learned and the tools that I've garnered over the years, and we have what we need in the moment. But I don't have control over that.
Yeah. Well, and I just think of,
Again, translating it to here though is like super fascinating.
well, it's that whole idea that we think, well,
It's okay. No.
celebration. No, I want to acknowledge that and like celebrate that you're making a mess and how beautiful it is, and own your mess. Dang it. Own it.
Oh,
Like,
she
seriously.
sounds like a coach.
What?
Own your
No.
mess. Again, I can do that in some places. This, I'm learning. I'm learning how to do that here.
I just think I appreciate your tools. You help me to flip the mind switch. Yes.
Jen, thank you. Jen was actually one of my favorite clients. I learned a lot from Jen and in the process of being with Jen. So thank you. Thank you for being a part of that world and experience.
See how much brighter it is?
Yeah. Yeah.
You loving it?
Yeah. I feel like it still needs more. Jen, are you doing this painting? Do you do these paintings? I would love to see them. Leah, tell them where they can put their stuff, like what we do with it.
So on the Righteous Rebel Facebook group, we have what's called the art gallery, and it's not just for paintings, but if you do the painting, we'd love to see it there. Post it in the comments. I mean, like, you're even welcome to in the group. We'd love to see that. No, thank you. You helped me achieve my goals.
I love it.
But I think, Jen, actually, you posted something that you crocheted.
Yes.
It was like a llama. It was a super cool llama.
Super cute. Like, yeah, it's what your artwork is. And I loved that.
So it's a place where we invite rebels to share what their creative outlet is. You know, and things that you've made. It could be a meal. It could be you wrote a poem. It could be a painting. It could be like we've had quilts and
other
I'm thinking Corey.
Oh yeah, his still forging.
Yeah. So there's no rules or whatever. Like, just you can post what you're creating and, you know, let us share it. It's a place to share and that we can celebrate you and your creative expression. So yeah, we'd love to see what you're creating.
I would absolutely love it. It like brings so much joy to my heart to see your art or the things you're working on. Oh,
it's okay.
I'm like, I just clipped your
that's totally
your art.
So that's where you can share what you're creating. What else? I'm caught up watching you do the painting and just the concentration, and
it takes a lot for me.
But I just love that you said it's a beautiful mess. And again, I'm going to reference the shack because it's very much in my presence.
Fractals.
Well, yeah, there's a part where they're working in the garden and he's like, oh my gosh, this garden is such a mess. And she's like, oh my gosh, thank you. Like, it's such a compliment. And, you know, it just makes me think of all the places in our world that can seem messy or disorganized, but there's an order to them.
When you pull back far enough, there's order to them.
Well, I think of, like, you and I are master pilers, right? Like, we are really
talented
good at
and gifted
piles.
Yes.
But we have a
intellectual decorating style is what I call it.
But we have a sense of what's there and how to find it, and
if it gets moved, it's like,
oh, what are you doing?
I know what's in there.
So that can feel more disorganized when someone organizes your mess. It's scary.
Yeah.
So
I'm like,
I just love that you called it a mess. Like, that to me is huge progress.
I'll take it.
Yeah. I think it's beautiful. And sometimes it's hard to own your mess, especially when you've been taught, like, don't be messy and don't do this.
And the reality is, my mess is my message.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely. My mess is my message.
I agree. So now we gotta wait till it dries.
I can be happy with that.
Yeah. So the next part is fun, but you have to let it dry or it's all going to pool together. And you could to have one big mess, that would be totally okay. But if you want to have kind of planets, then we're going to let this piece dry. But in the meantime, I
Are you gonna sing and dance for us?
No. Oh my gosh, no.
Oh, totally thought that's what was going on.
Absolutely not. No, I don't work that way. But I've been thinking a lot about communication and how there's a book I'm reading right now. It's called The Super Communicators. I've also been super fascinated about villains, and you know, I had this epiphany, a couple weeks ago now, that I'm okay being, if I need to be a villain in the people that I love and care about in their world. And it just made me realize how much I've fought to be, a certain person to these people, whether it's like super mom or, perfect wife, whatever that is. And just really questioning some of those things, and just that I'm in a place of redefining what makes me me, and how that can be really difficult in changing. I think of the butterfly. You're a caterpillar for so long, and people know you to be a caterpillar, and then you have this change, this metamorphosis, and you're reborn into something else, but you can't necessarily hang out with your caterpillar friends.
I say, yeah, that piece right there is like, it is challenging, because there are people who either they're not ready, or it's not their time yet, or maybe they're never going to be ready. They're too scared in their own, and we all know those places. Sure. But it's challenging to not like hold yourself back, to make, as a butterfly, hold yourself back so that all the caterpillars can be happy
and stay in your world.
And that's challenging. We didn't really talk about it in caterpillar butterfly style yesterday on Live and Unscripted, but we did talk about this a little bit yesterday, just in going through the phases of just shifting who we are as individuals on this planet. And that I was thinking this morning, like a thought just gently found its way into my thinker of like, why do I forget some things, and why don't I remember that? And I believe that we often want to blame it on age, and which, maybe that's a real thing. But this thought came to my mind that maybe we forget, or we're not remembering things because we're not that person anymore, or that thing isn't an important thing in our world anymore, or as important of a thing. And it's such a fascinating concept that's like really working itself through right now, as to all the changing parts and pieces, and the allowance of it, the surrender into all these higher and newer levels of us, and then being able to talk about it.
Yeah. I think I've just really had the idea of like being the villain, and always defending, wanting to be the hero, and really discounting the role of the villain and the importance of that.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, sometimes in our changing and our growing, that happens. We're perceived. That's
absolutely,
right.
Absolutely, because we're going against everything that they know of us. But it's not even that we're a villain necessarily. It's we're craving change. We've reached a point where we can no longer move forward, and we're not willing to move backwards, because I believe whether we're either growing or we're dying if we stay still that way. I don't mean stillness, but just if we're not, I don't know, conflicting thoughts want to come through, like,
and that's like how you say forward stopping the busyness, but maintaining a forward motion,
like intentionality, right? And how you want to move forward. But in researching some of that, or having conversations, I really love the idea of I think it was a CIA agent's interview, that something that she learned was that everyone sees themselves as the good guy, as that they're bringing good to, they're doing it for a noble cause, or they're, there's something that they see, a grander vision, or, and I'm not counting in things like, I'm not talking about evil and ruthless and hurtful behavior that destroys people that way. But then I'm like, people can feel hurt by this. Makes me want to go in so many different directions.
I'm like, this could go in so many really big directions.
Well, I'm so like, I'm not responsible
what
for
I'm hearing you
feelings.
say is that there's a possibility, like, leave your mind open, that there's a possibility that someone who is part of is it jihad, like a holy war, maybe their belief system tells them that they're doing the thing that's good in what their religious higher power is asking them to, like, wanting them. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Or like someone who maybe some of the genocides, people who were participating in some of those, like their belief system was such that they felt like they were doing the right thing for. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I
or what the CIA person was
to that level, but yeah. I think I'm just thinking
more. I mean, if you're going to go there, like, you got to go that.
Yeah.
You really got to spread that out. Not making those things okay. Not the injuring or killing of other people is okay, but that those people really possibly believe that they're doing the right thing.
But that's the whole argument of, people who talk about, there was a psychologist review I was looking at, that you can't do the thing if you can't morally justify it. Like, they're behaving in a way that feels moral, like they've justified what their actions are for a greater good. And that the other person is the enemy.
Yeah, I know sometimes, like, I've thought about this on many, many occasions. I've had discussions with people, and it's still challenging for me to swallow.
Yeah.
Or to I don't want to say challenging to swallow, like, we'll just forget that, but like, to wrap my brain around, and that, wow, that's really a possibility, and that in our humanness and in the belief systems that we like, that's.
Well, okay, I look at it, it's whose perspective are you looking at? Because a lot of times villains are people who are craving change, and a lot of times heroes are defending current systems.
Yes.
Right. So they're defending the honor of this king, and you don't know if that king is really doing what they say they're doing, but you have this hero defending, this kingdom, or, government, or whatever you want to call it, believing that it's righteous, but really maybe they're not.
So wait, are you saying, like, I'm like, okay, I really feel like this goes back to the core of everything that I do, and that we do together, and that is bringing you home to yourself. That really the best place to find answers is inside of yourself. I know for me, I was taught very much to go outside of myself.
Yeah.
I mean, there was pondering and even praying. It's an outside of yourself thing, but an inside of yourself thing. But I was taught to go outside, and that learning how to come here, like, everything I need is right here, has been really challenging. And I think that's what, like, even the villain thing, you have to know here that I know my heart, I know my mind, I know my actions, and I'm okay if you don't necessarily like what I do, but I'm as long as I'm not hurting somebody, breaking laws.
I think I come to what it makes me think of is Maleficent. We grew up with that story that she was this evil witch, and all she was just evil. But then they did that movie a few years ago,
called Maleficent.
And gave a backstory. I love the quote that villains aren't born, they're created. And if you haven't seen the movie, she was like a joyful soul. She was a fairy. She was the protector of people, and something happened that just destroyed her trust and robbed her of something that was rightfully hers, so someone else could gain. So I'm really fascinated by the idea of owning your own space and being a villain, because this really comes down to perspective.
Mhm.
How do you look at this? You know, are you a villain because you're not following a set of rules that we all are following, or that I think that you should be following? You've become a villain to me because you violate everything that I believe in, and I don't know how to trust you. I don't know how to be with you. I don't know who you are anymore because you've broken all the rules that we somewhere along the line had agreed on following. So it doesn't mean that I'm not a good person. It just means my thought process or my values have shifted. And you know, it can hurt that person that expects you to be a certain way, but it doesn't make it wrong. It just means it's changed and it's different.
Yeah, I look at some people in my world who, in my humanness, I judged their behavior, I judged their actions, and a little farther down the road, and still observing these people, or being in their world, and garnering my own maturity and wisdom, you go, well, damn, that they really did do a beautiful thing for themselves, and in so they were able to do really beautiful things for other people. And then I look at my own life and how vastly different my life is, based off what I thought it was going to be, in the belief system I had when I was young, and the dreams and goals I had when I was young, and just like where I'm at now, and how it's upset people. And but the reality is I'm happy, and I feel joyful, and I feel calm and peace. And because I have really learned, and am continuing to learn, to really own all of that, I I can love and serve bigger and deeper and bolder. And I just it took me learning how to be a villain. Like, that's a new concept for me too, and I like it, but it doesn't feel like that. You don't. It's not that you're a villain.
It's another
It's the
word for
concept.
rebel.
Yeah, it's
The
totally
reality
rebel.
is
I'm
it's
okay to be a
another
rebel.
way to say a rebel, because you're defending something that feels right for you, and you can't live within a system that's oppressive. Is the reality. Like,
Well,
it's
and for me, learning to be a rebel gives me the strength and the space and the um I can't think of the word, to help you do the same thing, and to give you permission. So I'm okay with that
yeah.
most days.
Fair.
Let's be real. Most days. I'm human.
Yeah. I think yours looks
Mine's looking pretty
mostly
dry. This
dry.
edge is a little, but it's not by the planet.
So why don't we switch back to that? I really just wanted to share this idea. Um, oh,
Your camera's gone.
well, dang.
Did it die?
I don't know. Technical difficulties.
Now we go.
Okay.
There we go.
3, 2.
I love that the camera
1.
gets its own countdown.
Right? So fun. Okay. So this has shifted a little bit for me. Well, dang. That's not fun. Okay. So here we're going to take a circle. I'm going to take probably this circle here, and just take some water. We should probably change that. Yeah, because it's not going to be yellow. Okay, this can be a purpley kind of planet. And you can call it whatever you want. It doesn't have to be correct. It can just be yours. So here I'm making it wet, and then I'm just going to drop colors in random spots and let them mix and do their thing. And just let it be. I'm not going to do a lot to that one. I'll take another planet. this water is super dirty. One of the things, you don't get muddy water or muddy colors is have clean water.
It was starting to look like chocolate soup.
Yeah, it was. Because you're not going to get a yellow that way ever. It'll look like muck. Okay. So you could do this one. I did like a green kind of planet. So I just took different kinds of greens and put some on the edges, some with it. I'm gonna snag that green. And then a blue to kind of like tie it all in, because it'll mix.
That's exactly what I was thinking, that you should use a blue to tie it all in. Like,
oh my gosh. So you could just kind of chill like that. This one I'm gonna make, I'm gonna probably take a smaller brush and make lines on one. I think I'll do that. And this one is just kind of like, I don't know which one it is, which one of the planets, but I'm going to take my lightest color. In this case, it's going to be a yellow, and kind of do a curvy line and just go one end to the other. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. I talk about that a lot to my writing clients, because, you know, writing can be a very emotional process, and that I have one client that's,
I was gonna say, not can be, is.
It is. It's like, it's kind of like having a baby. It's how I've always looked at it. Her pages for editing, and you know, it's hard to let go and go to that next step, because you're like, did I miss something? And what if I didn't say that right? And what if, you know, whatever. But that's the beauty of the editing process, is you'll catch things like that. And when it's not from someone that's written it or that's super close to it, you'll get feedback, and you'll understand the places. You'll get feedback about the places that you might have missed in explaining something, because something that happens a lot as writers and as teachers is we forget what we know, and we don't realize that all the things that we know, and it's so familiar to us that we just think it's common knowledge, and then we want to feel silly sharing it because we think everyone must know this, but not everyone has had that experience. So it's very much a head game, and you know what we want our books to do, or the pressure we put on what we think they should do, or
Oh boy.
I love that you picked blue. So for this one, I'm just going to take my brush with the pink and go around. If you've used whatever is your darkest color, I would use that and just go around your circle. We'll go around all the planets in blue once they're a little more dry. And a big old puddle there.
I'm like, these are more wet than I anticipated.
I'm going to leave. Oh, look at that. It made a J.
Yay.
So I'm going to leave it with some white spaces in there. I'm totally good with that. You don't have to. You can add more color to it if you want. Maybe in some spots I'll do a little more bedazzling. Bedazzling, what the? I'm not even sure where that came from. You know, this one, I'm just going to make it wet, and then take a red and put it on one side, and a little bit of orange and put it on the other side, and let that just be enough. And just let the water kind of do their thing. And we'll have like a cute little blue planet. This one, I'm just going to put color and then texture with the paper towel. Do it again in stages. I like the look of that. This one's a little bit wet. I'm like, I don't know if I should risk it. So while I'm waiting for that one to dry a little bit more, I'm going to fill this planet in. I'm curious, you know, like what I think it makes me think, this whole billing conversation makes me think of like how I used to look at certain people in my world and held them so responsible for things that happened, or you know, not recognizing their humanness and just,
well, and that they're, for me, it's that
how
they're in
little
their
we
own
have control.
growth process, and you know, they're learning too.
This one I'm going to try something a little bit different. I did the lines dry on this one, and this one I'm going to do, I'm going to make the circle wet and then go and make my lines that way while it's wet. Give it a different kind of effect.
That's super bright pink. Oh, you're using it over there. I'm like, where is she getting
Ooh,
that
that
super
looks
bright
really
pink
cool.
from? I want that, right?
It's so interesting to me, you know, like just the different ideas that can come through when you're allowing yourself to just play in it, and like seriously, just the experimentation that can happen and the ahas, and just, it's such a, I don't know, I just love the process. All right, as those are drying, I'm going to do my very best to just stay on the outside. I've picked up like a dark blue, and I'm just going to go along the edge of my circle to just help make the planet pop. I'm just going to stick to one side for this time. I don't want to go too close to my circle. It's just going to bleed. So for color and like your light, your dark colors will add depth and push things back, and your lighter colors will bring things forward. So right now I'm adding darkness around my circles to create like a shadow, so they come up from the page. Oh, I got a little bleed mark. Yeah, and just kind of go around all your shapes, your circles.
With a dark color, you said?
Yeah. So I just use like the navy kind of color here. I don't want a super thick line or I'm going to lose all my other colors. But just kind of go around your shapes with a, I just use the very, very tip of this paintbrush and go around. And that might not be wise because it's still wet. So what you can do is let it dry and then take a Sharpie marker and go around it, or go around it with a paintbrush.
I'm going to lose the color.
Yeah.
Oh, you're still pretty wet.
So maybe we'll do that. Also, when it's dry, you can also take a white paint marker if you have it, or a gel pen, and you can do embellishments. So on this one, I just made rings around the planet. If you look closely, I just took like a Sharpie marker and went around the circles. This one I did with paint. This one's a Sharpie. And then I just added stars, like random dots. I've seen people take like a paintbrush, old paintbrush or toothbrush with white acrylic paint and just kind of flick it. I didn't want the stars on my planet, so I didn't do it that way. But I just took gel pens and embellished my lines on that one. Yeah, and it just kind of makes it pop. You can always go in again if you want more contrast, like make these areas darker. Go in again with another layer of your dark blues to create the illusion of like you're in deep outer space. But that's our space project today. How you feeling?
I'm good. They're just getting a little extra color with me trying to outline them. So I'm going to wait and let them dry. But it looks cool.
You've created is shadows, right?
Yeah.
Because even on
okay,
on
but
this
here's
planet,
the thing: the shadows are in different directions.
And you know what? It can still look cool.
I'm okay with it. Like,
yeah.
I still am like, I missed a planet. Totally painting a whole planet. It's the getting it dark enough. Like I still have a tendency to go light, where as you know how to add in like all of the just depth of the color, and that's something I still get to work on a lot. It looks like.
Dude, it's bright.
Yeah, I mean, because I pulled in those little poppers, bright colors. Wow, that is not what I wanted to do. But okay.
There's paper towel. Yeah, so if you joined us today with this painting, we'd love to see it on the Righteous Rebel Facebook group under Art Gallery. Or
it's
just
pinned to the top, correct?
Yeah, yes. If you go right into the group, you'll see it pinned to the top. But if you're not a painter or you didn't do a painting, you can totally share something else that you've created. The point is really just to create and see what you can bring to life with your creativity.
I love it. I it's interesting because I am finding myself actually in a more, and maybe again because it's just of what the painting is, but just in a more peaceful state as I'm going through it. There's not as much inside my head, and there's not as much chatter, and so that's become super nice for me.
I don't know. I really would love to have Jen on the paint cast and see what her reaction is.
Jen,
with her
if you're still on here,
no thank you comment.
I have an idea what that's about.
Right. I love that. Well, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah. We'll just put it in the art gallery because mine's still a little wet and it will all bleed together if I pick it up. So we'll put it in the art gallery that is pinned to the top of the Righteous Rebel Facebook group. We would love to have you go and put your artwork there as well.
All right.
Anything we got coming up? Summer solstice.
Yes.
Summer solstice party. We are currently in the figuring out where we're going to have it. Hopefully by the weekend that will materialize. Where I thought we were going to have it is full. So anyway, watch for that on the Righteous Rebels Facebook group page. And I think that's all for now.
Yeah, we've got some projects in the works.
Several.
Yeah. And that's super exciting. We've been talking about, oh my gosh, I don't think we have a name for it yet, but it's all about feelings and emotions.
The emotions course, yes.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm not going to spoil the other stuff we're working on at this point. But anyways, thanks for joining us today.
It's been fun.
Yes. Thanks so much. And remember, it's not what creativity can do for you, but what you can bring to life with your creativity.
Can't wait to see it.
Have an amazing day.